Hello and welcome to part 3 of my 3-part mechanics series. In this video we'll be going over some advanced mechanics such as spin attacks, side-to-side AOEs, overlapping AOEs, forced marches, and knockback effects. And we'll go over the two different types of knockbacks that are in the game. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. The first mechanic we're going to go over is what I refer to as side-to-side AOEs or in-and-out AOEs. This is when a boss does an attack on one side and then it immediately moves to the other. As you can see here, the first attack happens on the boss's right side and then it will move over to the left side for the second attack. This isn't the actual mechanic, I just wanted to show this to you because I think this demonstrates very clearly what is happening. It's happening slowly so you can see it. But if you actually look at a real fight, the boss will do an AoE attack on his right side, and then the AoE will move to the left side, but there isn't enough time to get out of the way, so you have to move out of the way preemptively. The AoE marker, the telegraph, is almost a formality, and you just need to know to get out of the way once that happens. Overlapping AoEs occur when there are multiple attacks that cover the entire play area, but they go off in a certain sequence. As you can see here, the first wave of attacks will mark this area as unsafe, and then the second wave of attacks will mark this area as unsafe. You have to remember this sequence and then move according to when the attacks go off so you can avoid damage. So once that goes off, you move, and then the other one will go off, and then you are free to resume the fight. Forced marches is when the game is going to make you move in a certain direction. This fight is the first time that you're introduced to this mechanic indicated in the boss's cast bar. The boss casts Morbid Advance and Morbid Retreat. Morbid Advance makes you move forward, Morbid Retreat makes you move backward. So you have to position yourself accordingly to ensure you don't run into any of the obstacles once the attack goes off. Later on in the game, it does get a little bit more advanced, where instead of just going forward and back, there will be a specific arrow that will indicate which direction you'll move, which could be up, down, left, or right. Once you see what is going to happen, you have to position yourself accordingly, so when you lose control of your character, you don't run into something that you're not supposed to run into. So just keep in mind that when forced marches occur, you're going to lose control of your character, and you need to position yourself in the best way possible. Knockback effects are when the game is going to shove your character in a certain direction. There are two types of knockback effects. There are the arrows on the ground, which is what you're going to see here, and then there is the blue circle. The arrows on the ground indicate the direction that you're going to move. Usually there is an obstacle in the way that you want to avoid. In some cases later on in the game, you actually need to get blown into safe areas, as in this fight, you actually have to get shoved over into the center of that donut. The other type of knockback effect is the blue circle. The blue circle will appear in certain fights, and what it means is that you are going to get knocked back in a direction from the center of that circle. So as an example, in this fight you can see we have a very limited play area, meaning you want to position yourself at the top of the circle so you are shoved across the longest part of the play area. If you don't do that and you position yourself on the side of this circle, at the top or at the bottom of the circle, it's going to shove you off and you're just going to die. So when you see the blue circle, just remember you're going to get shoved in a direction from the center. So the center shoves you out, kind of like a big wave. That's what that wave looks like, and this is what the attack will do to you. So you got to position yourself accordingly so you don't get shoved off of a platform or into an obstacle. The final mechanic that we're going to be discussing is called a spin attack. A spin attack is indicated by chasing arrows that will circle around a boss. What it indicates is the direction that the boss is going to move and move his attack. So if the chasing arrows are going counterclockwise, the boss will rotate counterclockwise. If the arrows are going clockwise, then the boss will move clockwise. The idea is to always stay behind the boss so the attack doesn't hit you. It will usually come from the front of the boss, so staying behind the boss and moving behind him is how you interact with this mechanic and ensure that you don't die from it. To recap, in and out AOEs is a movement mechanic that is based on a timer. The timer is based on when the boss does the attack, which will happen on one side and then immediately happen again on the other side. You have to move accordingly. Overlapping AOEs is movement that you have to do based on a sequence. That will appear to be no safe area, but one area will be safe for a moment, then another area will be safe. You will need to move accordingly as well. Forced marches indicate a loss of control of your character. You will be forced to move in a specific direction, usually indicated by the icon in your enfeeblements bar. Position yourself accordingly. Knockback effects come in two different flavors. You have the directional shove, which is indicated by the arrows on the ground. It will blow you across the play area. And the other knockback is the blue circle, which you will be knocked from the center of that circle away from it. And the final mechanic is the spin attack, which is indicated by the chasing arrows. The arrows indicate which direction the boss is going to move and where the attacks are going to come from. Typically stay behind the boss to avoid all of the attacks. And that is going to do it for this 3-part series on mechanics. I hope you found these videos helpful and useful. If you did not, I'm sorry. I tried my best to be as informative as possible. Regardless, I hope to see you out in Eorzea, and I thank you for watching. Cheers.